Chapter 1. The Fisherman's Brother. There is a place, not so far away as one would think, but as far away as one could imagine. In this place dwells a land with a shimmering sea on one edge and grand mountains on the other. Between these lies a beautiful lush valley. Within this near paradise lives a man with a horrible red scar. This scar is not visible to the naked eye, but lies deep within the recesses of the poor man's heart. If one looks deep enough into his eyes, one could see the old wound struggling to heal itself. To look upon him as a stranger, one will see a man nearer to 20 than 30, with a strong frame and nice eyes. Nothing emits from his presence of a soft or gentle nature. This man has suffered and become calloused over the years, and as he could not shut the world out, he shut himself in. The town in which he lives is called Redivivus. It sits in the valley at the foot of the large, beautiful mountains. A town small enough, one on their front porch would wave to a passer-by, but large enough not to invite them in. Near the foot of the mountain, on the outskirts of this town, sits a massive mansion called Asulon Mansion. So large is Asulon, it can be seen miles out of town by weary travellers coming into Redivivus, bringing a smile to their faces to know their destination is almost reached, followed by a frown thinking of the person who resides in the structure. This quickly passes as they remember how far on the outskirts of town one would have to go to reach that place, and meet the misery abiding within. It was well known this misery never left Asulon, fortunately. On a lovely day, when the sun was shining and a light breeze tickled the meadow grass, there was seen an old woman carrying a bundle in her arms. She walked along the dusty dirt road wearily, keeping her gaze on Redivivus, and especially on Asulon. She entered the town at midday, as all were out and about, heading home for noonday meal. The children gazed at her wonderingly, supposing her to be some sort of sorceress, for she wore a long black dress along with a faded black cloak. The women looked pityingly on as they saw the bundle in her arms was a sleeping babe. The men looked questioningly as to how an elderly woman could have walked so far with an infant, seemingly without any food or water. The next town over was a mere full-day journey. The old woman heeded none of their stares, but kept trudging along through town toward Asulon Mansion. At first the townsfolk paid little mind to the old woman, giving her a few glances and then carrying on with their meal. But as she made her way further and further into town and seemed to be more and more headed for the dreaded mansion, the townsfolk began to be stirred. On the other side of town, the road forked. The one to the left led to the river, and the one to the right led to the great mansion. All watched in anticipation to see which way this woman would take. She trudged on, caring little, but noticing the buzz that was occurring around her. As she came to the fork, she of course took the right, and headed onward to the mansion. Well, this truly sent the town into an uproar. Children ran to the fork and gazed wide-eyed at this brave witch, who at this moment had passed further down the road than any of them in all their betting who could go furthest days. The women clustered together, conversing as to whether they should run and warn the strange woman of the disaster she was about to encounter. The men came out on their porches, holding their plates of food in hand while eating and giving each other a very strange but surely none of our affair look. As for the old woman, she kept on her way, smiling a little to herself. She had for a moment come out of her determined trance to realize and enjoy the effect she left in her wake. This reverie led her to gaze down upon the child in her arms. She was a beautiful little pink mass who could barely have existed in this world 8 months. She slept very soundly, and the old woman smiled again, continuing on her way to the house which loomed before her. "Be not afraid, faint heart," she whispered, whether to herself or the child she did not know. Soon enough she had passed through the looming gates that guarded the fortress. A very strange occurrence, they were not locked. She wondered, puzzled. She marched bravely onto the immense wooded grounds. Uneasily she looked from side to side, as though some malicious attacker would pounce upon her at any moment. She'd heard tales of much worse occurring within these dense woods.